Hey people, it's Sunday afternoon, late afternoon. So Greenville, South Carolina, comfortable 72 and a little bit drizzly, but very livable. So I just want to share with you some other things about Florida. Okay, because things are going to happen fast, so I'd like to warn everybody way ahead of time. So we talked about the third being cut off. The natural science or whatever says 2030, 2100, whatever. But things are escalating quickly in this time because we're in accelerated time. Once we hit the third day, time is ratcheted up in quickness and acceleration. So everything Hillsborough County and south, which is Tampa. So North Tampa south. Okay, they've already burned a hole in the aquifer, which is where the drinking water comes from, and they're already injecting poop in the aquifer. They call it effluent poop. So they're polluting all the groundwater in Florida to try to destroy the people of Florida. Satan's going to destroy them one way or another, destroy Florida, and the people got to get out alive to higher ground spiritually, first and foremost, to go to higher ground physically. So you're talking about, like if you know anything about Miami and that area, their water is a lot of limestone down that way below Lake Okeechobee, and that purifies the water. The lime, the alkalinity purifies the water. But they have nowhere to pump the poo. Now, it would have been better if they just, pooped in a bucket and let it dry out in the sun and laid it on the land or whatever. But in America, we poop in our water, we call it a toilet. And we think it's normal to poop in drinking water. You're not saying we're going to drink. That crazy neighbor. You can't say we're going to drink out of a toilet, but that's basically what Florida is a toilet. So why would you purify water enough to drink and then poop in it and then flush it, send it all the way down the street a few miles to a processing plant when you could dehydrate poop? They have technology to dehydrate poop, and they even use it for a fertilizer called mill organite. So they're killing South Florida, everything, 2/3 of the state actually, because first they're killing the drinking water. You can't live without drinking water. When I first moved there in the 70s, I lived in Clearwater, and the water was brown that came out of the tap because the infrastructure was really old, so the water was all rusty colored. And if you washed your clothes in it, your clothes would look all your white shirts would look all rusty, dreary, drab. So you had to compensate with the acids and bleach and whatever to keep your clothes clean. And when you called the city, they says, we know, because you told them about how bad the water was. We know, they said, don't drink it. So what are you supposed to do? Go store and buy water. Go store and buy purified water. So there's certain counties that don't really have their own water. Pinellas County could have had a lot of water because they had a lot of freshwater springs. And the people who owned the land that the springs were on tried to make a deal with the county. The county wouldn't make a deal. So they have long since capped the wells and covered them up, and they wouldn't tell anybody where they were, and they died. The bureaucracy, they get, because the people that had the springs on the property wanted to be kind and nice to help out the county, but the county, they're a bunch of brats in office. So it's a bad day to be a bad leadership in a bad office, office of leadership, because the leadership is going to be judged extremely harsh. And people wonder why I keep harping on leadership. Well, Jesus whipped them, turned over the tables. It'd be better for them to be harshed and beat up on this side of before they're dead, instead of waiting until after they're dead. It'd be better if they repent. So we can't let it rest. Can't let it rest. If we let it rest, we're allowing them to go to hell without warning them, 100,000 times. So 2/3 of Florida will be uninhabitable sometime over the next few years, and I'm talking just a short time. back in the time you had 100 years or 2,000 years or 20-some years. But we're in the latter part of the Revelation, the tribulation. And a lot of people don't even believe we're in tribulation, which is really stupid because, the greatest amount of lies on the earth and in the media, the prophets of Baal, the lies cause sin, cause death. So we're in the greatest tribulation, which are lies against the truth. I don't know how many times I have to repeat this till people start preaching it, start waking up to it. What kind of tribulation are they waiting for? I mean, my God. The Jews were all massacred, not all of them, but, and then they're trying to take away the guns so they can massacre the people. And then, the people are going to stand up. It's a revolution. You start looking at these other countries, like when what was the Netherlands the other day, and what was the country today, they took over the palace. And the people are not taking it anymore. They don't want no dictator leadership anymore. And a lot of stuff has already went down. A lot of stuff has already went down behind the scenes. A lot of stuff is crushed behind the scenes. It's just going to be stamped, and they're just picking up the dust and debris now. So God's new heaven and new earth are ready to be installed. On earth is in heaven. It should be in earthen vessels first, because it's going to be a tough road to hoe if you win the world, or you get given everything you ever wanted, and you lose your soul because you do not know how to steward anything. You're not a good steward. Like the vineyard story, the stewards. That the heir left, the owner, God, Jesus left, sent people there, and they got beat up. Then Jesus came, and they killed him. The vineyard story, read it, it's in the Bible. So, severe judgments, weird judgments, severe judgments all over the place. And so now we're going to talk about some of the inland judgments. There's going to be strange storms going on overland. They'll actually be, instead of over water, the storms will be created over land, because everything has kind of lost its mind, lost its natural flow, heavenly flow, because there's so many people in disobedience. And we're not concerned about the congregation. The sheep just follow sheep, and if one jumps off the cliff, they all do. That's why it's about the leadership. The sheep are just the sheep. They're innocent for their ignorance. And a lot of them will go to heaven just because they're innocent for their ignorance. But the leadership will end up in a really nice place in hell. You're talking a really uncomfortable place in hell. That's their nice place. Uncomfortable as hell. So you see the Georgia Guidestones went down. So keep your eyes on Georgia now. Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina. There's 4 states. Holy Land in 4 states, and we're looking at a lot of judgments come from everywhere. We'll keep you posted, but I just want to kind of update you, jump ahead to the future a little bit more. 2/3 of Florida will pass. 2/3 will pass. Starts out enemies according to it is written. He gets a third, so a lot of stuff will start out in thirds. And then it'll somehow stretch over to approximately half in some places. But if a third is taken out, the rapture of the wicked, it says God will remove all those that cause iniquity. And all those that contend with you, argue, fight, be brats, you'll look for them and you won't find them anymore. So we are going to be rapidly changing likeness of Jesus while the wicked's being done away with. Now, of course, that Satan took over. Genesis chapter 3. We've been in trials and tribulations since Genesis chapter 3. Jesus purchased the whole earth and all thereon. And now it's the 3rd day, what happened on the 3rd day? He resurrected on the 3rd day, which is the Sabbath day, which is the day of the Lord, which ushers in the 1,000-year reign. Now, some of us have already entered the 1,000-year reign, and we're no longer in tribulation, trials and tribulation, because we're graduating higher and higher with the Lord. But many of you are going to enter some serious judgment, some serious tribulation. And we will try to help you get out of it. We'll try to teach you the best we can, because it's all personal. So only the Father knows when you're ready for the visitation of the Son. Okay, only the Father can judge that. Only the Father can judge that. And it's individualized. God's not going to rapture poop. You're not going to rapture poop. If there's a lot of dung in you, you better go flush. You better go get it out. You better go surrender. God's not going to rapture this. The church right now is stinking crap, poop, junk. There's barely 10% of the church that would be taken up to the kingdom now. We're trying to get 15, 20, 30, 40% in as quickly as possible, but it's all done through the revelation and the exception of your marriage supper to the Lamb, of your heart tied to His heart, and your garment of humility, which is mean humble yourself, 2 Chronicles 7:14. And then there is no death. There's no more trials and tribulations. But the world, major trials and tribulations are coming upon the world. And first and foremost, they're coming against the church that claims they're the church and they're not the church. And, can't stress enough that it would almost seem right to slap the crap out of some of these leaders. But then they'd just make them mad. But you got to warn them and warn them. You got to let God's judgments rest. You got to let God's judgments fall. If God has to take away their boat, their truck, their car, their wife, their family, whatever God has to do, just like He did with Job, He wiped out his entire family. So heaven forbid your family gets wiped out. But I'm preaching to the choir, and I know you guys are on God's side, and you guys are the ones climbing up the mountain, going higher and higher with the Lord. So. But warn the rest of them. Try to teach them. Try to father them. Try to mother them. And try to get them to understand. Try to get them to enter in. But you can't force it. Like they say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. You can't make him drink. So we got the living water. So God bless you all. Just check in with you, and we'll talk soon. Amen.